What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and today we're going to be taking a look at the second update for Assetto Corsa, mainly, aka only, the Lotus Evora S, as well as Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Now there were a couple of other cars added in this update as well, and that would be the Lotus Exige Roadster, as well as the McLaren MP4 12C street car. Not the GT3 car, but the street car. And that was delicious. Yes, it was. I'll tell you, the one thing that Assetto Corsa constantly amazes me with is the way it regains grip. That's the area that I feel like it really stands out from the rest of the collection, if you will. Just seems to do it much more naturally, less now you have grip, now you don't. Now you have grip, now you don't. It's more gray area. I like it. Because you can do stuff like that, right? But I don't remember if I mentioned this, but there's two new tracks, Silverstone Grand Prix as well as Vallelunga Club. Silverstone GP, obviously it is what it is. Vallelunga Club, second half of that circuit, yeah, it's rather boring and not all that fun, although in a car like the Exige it is interesting. I can foresee a lot of online fun with that combination, as well as the Fiat 500 of Barthesese. Just feels right to say it like that. Oops. Did I do that? Ah, yes. I don't know, it just feels like every car has become a little bit more alive in this update. I don't know if maybe it's because I spent a bit of time with the last one driving the P4 Competizione race car, but it doesn't feel as understeer prone as the 211 or the P4 was. Didn't really spend a lot of time with the Zonda. Didn't spend a lot of time with the Ricardo Zonda either. Yeah, I just totally failed right there. I don't know Ricardo Zonda or Ricardo Zonta. I don't know. Zonta should drive a Zonda, if he doesn't already. Yeah, you don't want to get you don't want to get in there. You don't want to get into that gray stuff. But anyways, let me go ahead and use this opportunity to demonstrate something and make it really clear and obvious about what is going on within Assetto Corsa. Now, this car has a Toyota sourced V6 with the supercharger sitting on top of it. It's a fairly flat, torquey power band, for sure. Definitely a car that is drivable on the streets. It's not one of those cars that you have to rev to like 9,000 RPM and just dump the clutch. Honda! Sorry, happens all the time. I just can't help myself. But yeah, I want to talk about throttle response a little bit here. And I'm not talking about dead zone. I'm just talking about throttle response and the power output that you get from throttle inputs. So pay attention to the throttle position that you see in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. You see that green bar moving around next to the gear indicator. That's my throttle position. So let's go ahead and pretend we're driving on the street. Yes, the launch is going to be absolutely terrible because my Club Sport pedals aren't set up to do stuff like this because it's just awkward. Clutches don't work in sim racing unless you have some sort of fancy hydraulic setup. But let's just go ahead and get rolling here. Yep. Anyways, we're rolling. Let's just give it a little gas. Half throttle. Yeah, we are totally getting somewhere. Now, I don't know about you, but I know in my street car, I accelerate a bit faster than this, and I don't use half throttle or 5,000 RPMs. I'm just throwing that out there. I know someone's going to say, oh, well, that's correct. This car has throttle by wire or some sort of other system or something that makes it so that way there's like no throttle like input. You get no power until you hit like 90% throttle, and then you get all your power from there on. You know, some cars definitely have, you know, fancy systems and everything that do things like that, but not necessarily to the degree that you see in a Assetto Corsa. There's actually a guy on the iRacing forums who owns a Evora, the standard model without the supercharger sitting on top of the engine. And he said that there was an ECU issue. It's a Lotus, go figure. I still love Lotus though, not gonna lie. But that because of an ECU issue, his engine would only respond to 15% throttle input. And he said he was able to drive it at highway speeds in 5th gear, which, yeah, you're not even going to get up to 15 miles an hour at 15% throttle here. It's just, it is my #1 issue currently with this preview, and I would actually honestly rate that higher than no multiplayer or AI, because the driving is pretty dang fun. But I do feel like it is giving somewhat the wrong experience. It's making people think that there's more grip than what there actually is, which there's definitely a lot of grip, don't get me wrong. But yeah, it's just kind of silly how much power you have to give it, even though you're not really giving it all that much power. It's very unique, for sure. It's definitely a very non-linear throttle response. The Evora is just so well balanced. This is seriously one of those cars, though, that when I remember it exists, when someone shows me a picture of it, I go, that's an awesome car. I would not mind owning one of those, providing I can fit in it. But I guess they say that tall people can actually fit in these cars, which means that, hey, I could own a Lotus maybe one day if I get filthy stinking rich and do stuff like that all day. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I could see that happening. But then as soon as someone doesn't say anything about this car for, you know, a week, I entirely forget that it's been built. You know, even the same thing with the Exige. I mean, you have a car that is silly fast for good money, and yet it just doesn't exist outside of the track, even though it does exist, you know? You never forget about the Ferrari 458 or the 12C. It just seems like the Lotus is just so easy to forget about, even though Lotus is, you know, definitely one of the most historic brands out there. Rest assured, every time I'm playing Gran Turismo or Forza, I always buy an Evora. Always. Oh, usually it's in the color that they don't have in the Assetto Corsa currently, and it kind of annoys me. Kind of unhappy about it, actually. And that is, I believe it's called Isotope Green, which is this color that looks absolutely terrible on every other car you could ever put it on, but on this particular car, just perfection. It just looks so right to me. It's this ugly, bright, fluorescent yellow-green thing that just looks right. I like it. Not ashamed to admit it. I don't know if I'd want one in that color if I were to drive it around all day, every day, but, yeah. And I hate this corner in this car because the gear ratios just do not work out at all. Second gear is just too short to get into. Or the speed range is too short, I should say. Just it's not fast enough corner for third gear, too fast for second gear. It don't work out. I really do like this car, and I have to say I definitely, depending on how it works out and how competitive it ends up being, definitely would not mind repping the Evora GTE when it comes to the GT class race cars. That said, it'll probably be quite slow because the real car wasn't exactly all that stellar anyways, especially compared to some of the competition that it'll have in the 458s as well as the M3 and all that, but yeah. You know, it's one of those things. A lot of people, when Assetto Corsa came out, they said, "Oh, the Ferrari 458, it understeers. You can't understeer. You know, it's impossible. You know, it's got like 9,000 horsepower and street tires and all that stuff. It can't understeer. You know, you give it throttle and you instantly die. You know, that's got to be the case. You know, but a lot of it is how you drive it and the way you enter the corner, the car's attitude when you enter the corner, which a car like the Evora is perhaps, you know, dare I say, actually probably the best currently available here in Assetto Corsa for showing you that. Because if you do enter at the wrong speed, if you do go too fast, it will understeer. But if you set the car up for it, as in if you set the car's attitude up for it, it will drive nicely, it'll slide nicely, you can get oversteer out of it, but at the same time, you know, it really tells you what's going on. Now, if only the throttle was actually sensitive. One other little thing that I would like to see happen is, and this is just entirely out of left field, but, you know, forgive me, sometimes you just notice these things while you're driving around at, you know, 90 miles an hour through a corner. That little in-car LCD display, you know what would be really cool, and just a cool little touch, just because it's there? Showing the track map, that'd be cool. I really don't care for having track map displays or anything like that, because I don't need them, but it's better than having the logo there, you know? Just be something cool, or have a G-force display or something. Yeah, the things I say when I'm driving around, right? On the topic of a couple of other things I added in this update, they have G-force simulation sliders available in the menus. You used to be able to do that, but you had to do some configuration file editing, and there's a lot of trial and error. Trust me, been there, done that. Which they brought that in the menus, which means that when you go over bumps, you can set it so your eyes in game in the car move around a bit. Similar to what you commonly see from R-Factor and Project Cars. Which, I like the fact that they brought that into the menus because I like just a little bit of it. Actually pretty happy with where I'm at right now. But, you know, always nice to see that added in and actually be able to tweak it, and you can tweak it in different directions easily It's not just one blanket adjustment. I'm looking at you, R factor. For example, if I wanted my guy's head to bang into the dashboard every single time I hit the brakes, I could do that and have him completely unaffected by any lateral G-force. He'd have a really strange neck, though. It's like one direction he's got a spring for a neck, and the other direction he's man of steel. It's a nice little slide off the corner, as well as perhaps my favorite little feature that they've added so far. Although the force feedback sliders was a nice addition. I'm going to go ahead and say it, and I'm going to totally sound like a graphics greater than gameplay guy, even though I'm not. But the saturation slider, you can adjust the color saturation going on, providing you are running HDR, and I like it. I bumped up the saturation. It just looks so much more better, so much more immersive. That's what happens when you get too much weight on the nose going in the corner. That's precisely what happened. I was all me creating understeer by driving silly, for lack of a better term. But I like the extra color, so I bumped up the saturation because the world is in color, so why should I play a game that's not in color? But hey, if you want less color, go ahead. You can actually, I think, I haven't actually tried, but I'm guessing you could probably go this far to playing in black and white mode. Charlie Chaplin, Colin Chapman, same guy, right? Like this car, like it. And sadly, as soon as I'm done driving here, I'll probably forget entirely that the Lotus Evora is actually a car that exists. It's also pretty interesting to compare the tracks here in Assetto Corsa here now that we have a direct comparison to ISI's Silverstone that's available in R Factor 2, which is easily, in my opinion, the best track that they've currently released. This version is laser scanned. The R Factor 2 version is, I believe, built off of CAD data, which means that it's accurate, but at the same time not accurate, but it's accurate. AKA, you probably really wouldn't even notice the difference if it wasn't for there's being a difference. And that sentence just went absolutely nowhere, but I think you understand what I'm saying. All the small little... Yeah, not gonna say that one ever. Aw, man. That was the Formula wheel screwing me up. Right there. I had nowhere for my hands to go. Otherwise, it would have been a cool 360, but... You know, all the little bump set as the track ages a little bit, settles down, and all that stuff, or you know, changes that happen during construction unintentionally and all that stuff. But there's a couple of minor differences, but honestly, it's really close between both of them, which is a good thing to see. That said, I do like the extra peace of mind of knowing that it's laser scanned, but didn't stop me from enjoying the R Factor 2 version, and it certainly will not going forward. I need throttle response. It's just so unintuitive to basically give it like 95, 98% throttle to do what you'd probably do with, you know, 60% throttle. And that's probably why the cars aren't as tail happy as you might expect, because you're probably trained to not give it that much gas on instinct. But yeah, I love this car, so I'm going to go ahead and probably run the tank dry once again, because why not? So, hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.